Have you been looking for a very simple way to make sure that you get your gain staging right every single time? If so, then you have found the right video. My name is Andrew Aurora, and I help artists and producers bring their creative vision to life through mixing and mastering, and I put out a video like this every single week. So if you enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notifications bell so that way you never miss a video. And today I'm going to be going over a very simple method to make sure that you get your gain staging right every single time that you mix a song. So gain staging for me when I first started mixing was actually kind of a confusing concept. I really didn't understand how to do it right, and I didn't understand how to get it right every single time. And that's why I wanted to create a video for you guys so that way you would have a very simple, very duplicatable method to make sure that you get your gain staging right every single time and have plenty of headroom for your mixes. Now, I don't think that there's one right way to gain stage, but this is the way that I do it to make sure that I get my gain staging right every single time. And also, gain staging is very closely related to a fundamental of mixing called balancing. Balancing is pretty much the concept of mixing at its core, and I went over a very simple, very easy exercise to help you master your balancing in my video, The Ultimate EDM Mixing and Mastering Guide, and I will leave a link somewhere in the video here for you to check that out. And this also applies to every genre. It doesn't have to just be EDM. I just happen to be using an EDM song in that video as my example. Now let's jump right into the duplicatable method that I have for getting your gain staging right every single time. So here we are in our session, and all I've done here is I've imported a song and then just done some routing to some buses. And this song is called The Art of Tactful Procrastination by an artist named Ender Bowen, and this is what we're going to be using for our example today. If you want to check out his music, I will leave links to his stuff in the description of this video. What we have here is we have all the shells routed to a shells bus. We have all the cymbals routed to a cymbals bus. We have what I call drum sums, and this is where he sent me tracks that have multiple drum tracks on one track, and we have all the drum sums routed to a drum sums bus. All of those buses routed to an all drums bus, and then we have the bass routed to a bass bus, which I really didn't need to do because there's only one bass track. But then we've got multiple guitar tracks all routed to the rhythm guitar bus. We've got lead guitars routed to the lead guitar bus. We've got extras, so this is all like synths, keys, background effects like sub drops, whatever, all routed to an extras bus. And then we've got lead vocals here routed to a lead vocal bus, and then we've got backup vocals routed to a backup vocals bus, and then both those vocal buses routed to an all vocals bus, which I just remembered I forgot to put a limiter on here. I'm going to tell you what that's about here in a second, but yeah, that's all I've done here. I don't have any other plugins on here. And so the first thing that I want to do with this session is I want to focus on getting all of these tracks pretty much covering 50% of the actual like file here. So I want the waveform of these tracks to cover roughly 50% of the space. And what do I mean by this? So what I mean is, like, I want to gain all of these tracks up in a way where there's about 25% up top and 25% on bottom, where these are covering roughly 50%. And I want to do that with every single track. Now, if this was a mono track, it'd be a little easier to see, but since it's a stereo track, you got to kind of imagine like a invisible line going down the middle here and pretend that you've got like 25% right here and up here. And we're going to do this for every single track. And the reason that we're going to do this is because we are going to do this on every single session, and we're going to be able to set up our template in such a way that when the tracks are clip gained to that level, they will be hitting the template exactly where we want to, or where we want it to every single time. So this doesn't have to be perfect, but whatever session you're working in, you can do this. And from here, I'm just gonna like fast forward the video so that way you guys don't have to watch me do this with every single track. Now, real quick, I wanted to interrupt this video to mention my free resource, the 12 things that you need to be a beast at mixing and mastering.
I put this free resource together because as a beginner, it can be daunting trying to figure out what you should focus on and where you should put your energy so that way you can get good at mixing and mastering quickly. And I wanted to give you a very clear guideline on what I felt were the most important things for you to focus on as a beginner so that way you can start banging out great records ASAP. And on top of that, I included some of my favorite resources to help with your ear training and some of my favorite books. And if you want to pick this up, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of this video. And on top of that, if you'd like an opportunity to work with me and potentially have your music featured on this channel, then I left a link in the description for that as well. Now on to the rest of the video.
Cool, so now that we have everything clip gained the way we want it, we are going to now move on to the step where we balance each one of these buses in such a way that the song sounds, roughly balanced when we have these tracks brought in at this clip gain level. Now, the idea behind this is one day you will have a template set up with all of your favorite plugins, all your favorite routing, all your favorite stuff, and when you import the tracks into your template and then clip gain them to this level, they will always hit at least pretty close to where you want them to. Now, the way that I'm going to do this is I have limiters on every single bus that I'm going to use, kind of like a fader, for balancing all of these, shells, all these cymbals, everything throughout the track here. I'm going to be using this as a fader, and the reason that I don't use the fader on the actual bus is because if I ever wanted to do fine automation moves, I can't really do that if the fader is like all the way down here, for example. So the first thing we want to do is we want to know where we want to actually hit level wise on our master. And for me, I'm wanting to hit around -12. I'm not saying that's a set in stone rule, but this is what I'm aiming for, so that way I have plenty of headroom. And I'm going to start by balancing the drums. I'm going to build everything around the drums. Now, if I solo the drums right now and I hit play with all these tracks at this level, they are going to be way past -12. Let me show you. And also, before I hit play, I don't know how loud this is going to be, so it might hurt your ears. Just be prepared. I'm hitting play now, so turn down your headphones just to be safe. Okay, obviously we are way too loud, and so what I want to start by doing is I want to first start by coming into the shells and balancing around my shells. Now, real quick, I need to bring this one element down because I know it's way too loud, and I just worked on this song enough, so I know that it's too loud. And what I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do is I'm going to just start with the shells. Go use this fader. Cool, so now you can see we're hitting around -12 on the shells bus, and now we're going to move on to the cymbals bus. And then we're going to balance the cymbals with the shells. Okay. All right, that's pretty balanced. Now we're going to come in here to the drum sums, and we're just going to balance these real quick. Now, this is a good time to mention that if you have an element that's a little bit too loud, it's okay to come up here and clip gain it down a little bit, and use that for volume. It'll actually save you a lot of time. So it's okay if you have to adjust the clip gain to adjust your volume levels on an individual element. We just want to start by using the 50% rule, right? So let's see how these are setting next to our cymbals and our shells. They're okay, good little rough balance. Now let's move on to the bass. All right, that's a decent level balance. Now we're going to come to our guitars. Now, it's also important to note that if you have, a bus where if all your tracks are clip gained to around minus 50%, or not minus 50%, if they're all clip gained to around 50% and they're nearly hitting the threshold on the limiter or hitting the limiter, you can come in here to your pre-gain and you can bring down the input gain on the actual bus a little bit, so that way you have a little bit more wiggle room. So I'm going to bring it down by minus 5. And like, for example, right now the shaker's way too loud, so let's just adjust the volume. All right, let's go to the leads now. Let's balance those. Now let's go to our extras bus. And let's just balance these out. And again, you see we're nearly hitting the threshold, so what I'm going to do is just do minus 5 here. And let's go to the lead vocal bus now. Whoops, I forgot to bring that down for you guys. Sorry about that. All right, now let's bring the backup vocals in and balance those out.
Out of sight, out of sight. Simple so far, but you are more than maybes and mights. Beneath a born again broken beam, when the dawn is gone, you still won't sleep. But the morning is full of promises I can't keep.
Okay, so that's roughly balanced, right? And now we've got our all vocals bus where I can bring up and down all the vocals together if I want.
Out of sight. There's nothing new. There is no crisis.
Now personally, I don't think it really needs anything. And now what we do is we go up to our master bus and we see what level we're hitting at. And I guarantee you it's going to be past minus 12.
There is no crisis. Dawn is gone, you still won't sleep. But the morning is full of promises.
Yep, so we are hitting a little bit past minus 12. So what I'm going to do is come up here on the master and I'm going to hit minus 5.
Dawn is gone, you still won't sleep. But the morning is full of promises I can't keep.
Cool, so now we're hitting roughly the level that we want, and now at this point, if I take another song and I import it into this template that we've made, and I pretty much clip gain everything at these levels, it should come up with roughly the same balance. And if it doesn't, if you actually do this and the balances are a little off, you can always go in, and if you feel like, okay, I clip gained everything the way I should, but the shells are a little too quiet. Well, then you can go in here and you can actually just bump the shells up. You've got the headroom to do that. And if one individual element here is a little too loud or a little too quiet, you can use this. You can use clip gain to adjust your volume on that individual element. So that way, you don't have to worry about, going in and adjusting faders and whatnot. You can just use your clip gain super quick to balance everything out. But everything should be pretty close when I import another song in here, so I'm going to use another song as an example. So we're back with another song imported into the exact same template that we had before. I haven't changed anything. All I've done is taken another one of Ender's songs and I've imported it into this template, and I've already done all the clip gains, so you guys didn't have to watch me do all that. And now we're just going to hit play and see how it sounds. We're going to see, where it's hitting in terms of levels, and we're going to see how the balance sounds on this song.
You say, make your way to the night between the tiny street lights. You'll find all you ever wanted.
So honestly, I think that sounds pretty decently balanced, considering all we've literally done is balance. We haven't mixed, we haven't EQ'd. I think just putting it in and clip gaining it where I said 50% of the waveform covering the track came out at a pretty good balance. And if you actually check the master, you'll see that we're hitting pretty close to -12.
Between the tiny street lights, you'll find all you ever want.
Okay, now the next test that we're going to do is we're going to test it on my template that actually has all the routing, plugins, everything set up, and see how close we sound to an actual finished song just by doing what I've said and clip gaining at 50% on the tracks and just popping it right into a template. Cool, so here we are again with my template, and all I've done here is I've imported the first track that we used as an example, and I have clip gained it exactly the same way that I told you guys to. I've pretty much just gone in here and clip gained everything at roughly close to 50%. I haven't touched a single fader. I haven't added a single plugin. I haven't, done any EQ. All I've done is imported into my template with all the plugins that I already had set up the way that I like them, and my mastering chain set up the way that I like it. And this is what it sounds like. Now, before I hit play, fair warning, I have a mastering chain on it now, so it's going to be louder than the other stuff I played. So this would be a good time to turn down your headphones if you had them cranked up. So here I'm hitting play now. So it's definitely not a finished mix, but it is a very good starting point just for, popping in the tracks and clip gaining them the way that I said. And real quick, I want to show you guys something. Without my mastering chain, I want to show you guys exactly where the levels are hitting on my master bus. So as you guys can see, the volumes going into my mastering chain is at -12 like I was telling you guys to do, and I just have everything set up on my buses with my plugins and everything the way that I like it, the gain staging the way that I like it, in such a way where it hits -12 on my mastering chain, and then my master bus basically takes it up to a good level. And if, for example, I feel like something in here needs to come up a little bit. Like, let's just hit play. Let's say I need the bass to come up a little bit. Or let's say maybe I feel like those drum sums need to come down just a little bit. I've got plenty of headroom to make fine little adjustments, and I'm nowhere near clipping on any of my individual tracks. I'm nowhere near clipping on any of my buses, and I'm hitting everything exactly the way that I want it. So this is a very simple way to gain stage. You guys will, over time, get the get your templates refined in such a way where you can just pop your tracks in and it'll be perfect every single time. But I showed you guys a very simple way, even if you're just learning, to pretty much just set up some basic tracks, set up some limiters on the buses, clip gain it that way, balance it with the limiters, and pretty much start developing a template, start developing a workflow and adding your favorite plugins over time as you continue to learn what you like and what you love. But this is a very simple method that you can duplicate over and over and over again to make sure your gain staging is perfect. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, if you guys want your music mixed and mastered and possibly even want it featured on my YouTube channel where I can teach you how to mix your music and teach the rest of my audience how to mix your music, then feel free to reach out to me. I will leave a link in the description of the video where you guys can shoot